In this video, we're going to talk about hyper-independence. So, hyper-independence at the surface level is I would say, accepted by the society, right? In a way that that person is depending on themselves to do and to achieve and to do whatever they want, right? So this is at the surface level, but at the deeper level, there are so many traumas and so many chaotic emotions in there, right? So in this video, we're gonna focus on the deeper level because this is what the channel for. We get deep. Anyways, so one of the reasons that the person embody this kind of behavior or this kind of identity, being hyper independent, is that the fear of rejection. Okay, because at some point in their life, maybe most likely it's in their childhood, they were rejected, right? So for example, they asked for help, for example, and then they were dismissed, or maybe they whenever they want to do something, they would be rejected, right? So this rejection built an adult who depend on themselves because they're afraid to be rejected, because they know in their subconscious mind that if I'm gonna ask for help, no one will help me, so I have to depend on myself and to do it by myself without any help. So fear of rejection is rooted to this kind of behavior, which is being hyper independence, in a way that I'm afraid to be rejected, and so I'm gonna depend on myself. And another thing that caused a person to be hyper independent is the lack of support. So maybe during their childhood, they didn't have the support or healthy support system in their childhood, in which that whenever they feel, for example, sad, they don't have somebody to soothe or to cry on their shoulder. They will be their parents, for example, tell them to go to their room, in which that they develop this kind of belief that my emotions are not welcomed, and that leads this person to be hyper independent and to shut down their emotions. They're gonna masculine up. Okay, so lack of support leads a person to be hyper independent in a way that there is no support provided, so why would I rely on others? I'm gonna do it by myself. And another reason is lack of trust issues. So because I don't trust people around me, I'm gonna grow up not trusting people because I haven't developed this muscle while I was a kid. So trust wasn't available when I was a kid, so I didn't know how to trust people. Or maybe I tried to trust people, but I got betrayed, for example, and then I learned unconsciously that I am never gonna trust anyone. So having trust issues, it means that I don't trust people to help me, I don't trust people to offer me help, and I don't trust people to do anything for me, because sometimes there is a catch behind it, in a way that whenever I ask for help, it means that there is a favor that I need to pay it back to that person. And another reason is that I would say the lack of availability from their parents. So their parents, for example, they are busy with their lives. They are not focusing on that kid. And that means that that person has no one to help them to do the homework, for example, or to play with them. or even to talk with them, right? And then in their adulthood, they will be hyper independent because they didn't know, and they didn't know how to feel, to be supported and to be held. Another reason could be that that person is the only child, and they were like in a very protective environment, and there are no kids around that person, around that kid, so they learned how to depend on themselves. Okay, and then growing up, this is what they have. This is what's familiar for them. This is what they have been doing since they were a child, right? So hyper independence, it's not something that you need to be celebrated for embodying. It's more about like, these are signs that there are unsolved emotions, unsolved drama that you need to work on. So there is a difference between being hyper independent and being codependent. These are two status at the same, or two spectrums, right? So either you're gonna be hyper independent, which is the negative extreme of it, or either you're gonna be codependent in a way that you depend on people fully and totally, and without trusting yourself to do anything, right? So these spectrums are not healthy, but being in the neutral status, being in the 0 point is what's healthy. So what does that mean? It means that whenever you want to depend on yourself to finish a task, for example, you're gonna embody this aspect of this spectrum. And whenever you want to ask for help, you're gonna embody this aspect of spectrum, but you're gonna return to the neutral point, not being in either of these extremes, but in the balance point. So I invite you to reflect on what are the causes of the hyper independence. Which of these examples, or these traumas, or these emotions, or these causes resonate with you, and work to process those emotions and those traumas. You don't want to be like that rigid and hyper independent person, and to live in this state throughout your life, because there are other effects of being hyper independent, and there are emotional or physical illnesses that are caused to be in this state, being hyper independent. So I invite you to reflect on your life. What is underneath this hyper independent personality? There is weakness. There is this little kid who needs love, who needs support, who needs a hug maybe. So give it to yourself. Give that hug to your inner child. Give that compassion to your inner child. I know all these things weren't available when you were a kid, but now you are an adult. Be that adult to that kid, because it's your responsibility to process these emotions. But at the end of the day, you have the choice. Either you choose to free yourself from all these dilemma and all these traumas, or you're gonna continue living the way you have been living. The choice is yours.